so I know, I'm real close to them. Yeah. So basically, Unfunk just had a life sentence.
Young Thug's brother is saying his goodbyes after being sentenced to prison once again.
Mr. Greer, I take no pleasure in us being here again.
This all stems from him breaking probation, a probation he reportedly secured by snitching on Young Thug. And now, those explosive details are finally coming out. Let me break it down. Unfunk's downfall and the YSL RICO mess. On May 4th, Greer was arrested during a traffic stop at a BP gas station on Cleveland Avenue, an area that prosecutors love calling a YSL stronghold. Picture this: Atlanta police doing surveillance, watching a black Mercedes G-Wagon with several people gathered around it like they're conducting business. The cops got suspicious, thinking they were witnessing a drug deal go down right there in broad daylight. When they pulled Unfunk over for a window tint violation, that's when everything went sideways. Officers smelled that faint odor of marijuana and spotted a 9mm Glock handgun sitting in plain view in the driver's side door panel. Now here's where it gets interesting. Greer told the officers the gun was clean, meaning legally registered. But there's one problem with that logic. Homeboy was on probation from his YSL RICO plea deal, and possession of any firearm was strictly forbidden. The irony is thick here, fam. This is the same dude who just 6 months earlier had taken a plea deal to avoid exactly this kind of situation. Greer was charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, associating with a criminal street gang to participate in illegal activity, and minor traffic offenses, including window tint violation and not wearing a seatbelt. The judge wasn't having any of it when bond was requested, denied immediately.
You owe $141.08 in fees. You haven't started any of the community service in this particular case, so I find those to be proven violations. But, those are relatively minor.
On June 5th, 2023, Judge Earl Glanville revoked Greer's probation and sentenced him to 9 years and 6 months in prison. The judge made it crystal clear why this happened.
Mr. Greer, I take no pleasure in us being here again, but do you recall when I sentenced you on the 20th of December that I went through certain things that you were expected to do at that point in time? And part of the special condition was that you're not supposed to possess a gun. All you had to do is complete your probation and do what you're supposed to do.
But Unfunk wasn't just caught with a gun. He also hadn't paid his $141.08 in probation fees and hadn't even started his required 750 hours of community service. Now let's break down this whole YSL RICO situation that got everyone caught up. In May 2022, Young Thug, his brother Quantavious Greer, and 26 others were indicted in Fulton County, Georgia, under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Prosecutors weren't just going after a record label. They claimed Young Stoner Life was actually Young Slime Life, a criminal street gang affiliated with the Bloods responsible for murder, armed robbery, and drug dealing over the past decade. The case became Georgia's longest-running criminal trial, and boy did it have drama. We're talking about a nearly 10-month jury selection process, followed by 11 months of testimony. The trial was disrupted by events like the stabbing of defendant Shannon Stillwell, the arrest of a juror and a lawyer, and the recusal of Judge Earl Glanville in July 2024 after a secret meeting with prosecutors and a witness. Here's where Unfunk's story gets messy. In December 2022, Greer pleaded guilty to 1 count of violating Georgia's RICO Act and 1 count of theft by receiving stolen property.
Like they said, it was a 12-year sentence, and it was 2 years community time served. So that means that you got 10 years of a suspended sentence. Now that is a suspended sentence.
He got sentenced to 12 years, but here's the kicker. 2 years were commuted to time served, and the remaining 10 years were to be served on probation. The conditions of his probation were strict: 750 hours of community service, a 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, no contact with Young Thug or other co-defendants except through attorneys, and absolutely no firearms. But the most controversial part, Greer was required to testify truthfully if called, while retaining his Fifth Amendment rights. This clause is what set the hip-hop world on fire with accusations of snitching. The other YSL defendants had mixed fates. Gunna took an offered plea in December 2022, maintaining his innocence while acknowledging the prosecution's evidence. He got 5 years with 1 year commuted to time served and 4 years suspended, plus 500 hours of community service speaking against gang violence. Like Unfunk, Gunna faced similar snitching accusations from the community.
Yeah, it's definitely the difference between Gunna and his brother plea. It ain't no difference really, bro. So if we saying we mad at Gunna about taking a plea, we need to be mad at everybody then, bro.
Young Thug himself was released on October 31st, 2024, after pleading guilty to 6 counts and no contest to 2 counts. He received a 40-year sentence, 5 years commuted to time served, 15 years on probation, and a backloaded 20 years if probation is violated. His conditions include a 10-year ban from Metro Atlanta except for specific events, 4 annual anti-gang presentations, and no contact with gang members or co-defendants except Gunna and Greer due to contractual obligations. The trial ended in December 2024 with no murder convictions, as most defendants took plea deals or were acquitted. Yak Gotti was found not guilty on all counts, while Shannon Stillwell was found guilty only on 1 count of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and got 10 years with 2 years commuted to time served. Now here's where things get spicy. The hip-hop community has always had a strict code against cooperating with authorities, and both Unfunk and Gunna found themselves at the center of snitching allegations. Greer addressed these allegations on Instagram stories, writing, "Damn, people really think I told on my own brother, SMH." His attorney, Nicole Moorman, clarified that Greer had not cooperated and had not agreed to testify against any of his co-defendants in the trial, but the damage was done. The clause requiring him to testify if called meant that even without explicit cooperation, Greer could potentially be compelled to speak about others' actions. As attorney Daryl Cohen explained, the Fifth Amendment only protects against self-incrimination, not testimony about others, which fueled fears that Greer could be forced to speak against Young Thug. Additionally, Young Thug maintained that he wanted to help his brother for a reduced sentence. However, a leaked audio call shows that it was all clearly a lie.
Man, but you seen your brother, please?
Most definitely.
But he said you told him to do that.
Man, watch out.
Man, on God, that's what he telling the truth.
Man, on God, he kept. On that same God, he kept.
Then came the bombshell that nobody saw coming. In August 2025, a nearly 2-hour audio clip surfaced, allegedly featuring Young Thug discussing associates connected to criminal activities, including Pee Wee Roscoe, linked to a 2015 shooting of Lil Wayne's tour bus.
Bro, it's so easy. They tell you have the right to remain silent. Anything used against you could be used in the court of law, whatever they say. You have the right to call an attorney right now. You spoke for 2 hours.
In the recording, the voice presumed to be Thug expresses uncertainty about identifying the shooter, stating he did not want to compromise legal proceedings by making definitive accusations.
This Wayne from New Orleans. I'm from Atlanta. This in Atlanta, and I was in New Orleans. I said, what the fuck? That was so weird. This damn shot it into us. Honestly, I don't know who the fuck. They said Roscoe, but I don't wanna block out y'all case by saying Roscoe didn't do that. Roscoe, man, that man, scrub. That fool. I'm like, you shot at somebody, bro. But I don't know, cause every day niggas fuck mom. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Young Thug responded to the leak on social media, questioning why the interrogation footage was not used in court, writing, "They didn't play my interrogation video in court because I helped my brother hash ratware." He framed his actions as demonstrating loyalty rather than cooperation. Pee Wee Roscoe publicly supported Thug, describing him as loyal and emphasizing that the audio did not indicate snitching. The timing of this leak is suspicious, coming after Young Thug's release and the trial's conclusion. It seems designed to stir controversy rather than impact legal proceedings. Fans rallied behind Young Thug, with many viewing the leaked audio as an attempt to undermine his loyalty-focused image, while a few other rappers were less lenient. Unfunk's murder case and the 11-year nightmare. Let's dive deep into the criminal history that shaped Quantavious Greer long before the YSL drama ever started. This story begins in December 2007 with a robbery gone wrong that would cost a man his life and send Unfunk behind bars for over a decade. December 2007, Greer was involved in the robbery and fatal shooting of James Yarborough in Atlanta. The setup was straight out of a street movie. Remian Rawlings and Darius Jordan offered a ride to Yarborough and his nephew Kenneth Kaiser, who were walking to a check cashing store. After Yarborough cashed his check and purchased drugs from Jordan, the group drove to Greer's mother's house. That's when things turned deadly. A man approached the car with a gun, robbing Yarborough and Kaiser of their cash and drugs before pulling the trigger and ending Yarborough's life right there. The key witness, Remian Rawlings, who was granted immunity by Fulton County District Attorney Paul Howard in exchange for his testimony. Rawlings pointed the finger directly at Greer, claiming he was the shooter. In June 2010, a Fulton County grand jury indicted Greer on 2 counts of felony murder, 2 counts of armed robbery, 2 counts of aggravated aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and 1 count of possession of a firearm by a first offender probationer. The trial in December 2010 resulted in guilty verdicts on all counts, and Greer was sentenced to life imprisonment plus additional years. But here's where this case gets really interesting, and why it took 11 years to unravel. The conviction relied almost entirely on Rawlings' testimony, and this dude had serious credibility issues. During cross-examination, Rawlings admitted to being present during the planning of the armed robbery, being at the scene when it happened, fleeing with the co-conspirators afterward, and receiving $50 to keep his mouth shut. Under Georgia law, accomplice testimony in felony cases must be corroborated by independent evidence, and Greer's defense attorney Brian Steele argued that the prosecution failed to provide sufficient corroboration. The prosecution tried to strengthen their case with cell phone records, showing that just before the shooting, Jordan was in contact with a phone typically used by Greer's older brother, who is deaf and testified he was asleep and only used the phone for texting. The defense argued this didn't directly link Greer to the crime, since the phone was at his mother's house, where Greer had access but no exclusive control. Kaiser's description of the shooter was consistent with Greer's appearance, but here's the kicker. He failed to identify Greer in a lineup. The prosecution maintained that Rawlings was not an accomplice, which would negate the need for corroboration, but the defense kept hammering on the conflicts in evidence and Rawlings' credibility. The controversy around this conviction was massive. Greer's supporters, including Young Thug, argued the conviction was unjust, especially given the lack of definitive physical evidence. The case drew attention because of Greer's emerging music career and his connection to Young Thug, who later hired top attorneys to challenge the conviction. In March 2019, the trial court, acting as the 13th juror, granted Greer's motion for a new trial, finding that the greater weight of evidence suggested Rawlings was an accomplice, and his testimony was inadequately corroborated. The court noted Rawlings' admissions of involvement in the robbery's planning and execution, which seriously undermined his credibility as a witness. The state wasn't having it and appealed the decision, arguing the trial court abused its discretion. But in August 2020, the Georgia Supreme Court affirmed the trial court's decision to grant a new trial, agreeing that the lack of corroboration for Rawlings' testimony justified the ruling. However, they rejected Greer's claim that the evidence was insufficient as a matter of law, meaning he would still face a retrial. Greer was released on appeal in 2019 after serving 11 years, with Young Thug's financial and legal support being instrumental in making this happen. The release was celebrated by Young Thug and fans on social media, with posts praising Thug's loyalty and dedication to getting his brother out. But here's the twist that makes this whole story even more dramatic. The prospect of a retrial meant Greer wasn't completely free. He was essentially living under the threat of going back to prison for life, which explains why his 2022 YSL RICO plea deal was so significant. His attorney Nicole Moorman later explained that the plea was motivated by the uncertainty of facing another murder trial given his prior overturned conviction. The overturning of Greer's conviction was seen as a rare win against a legal system that many in the community perceived as unfairly targeting black men. Fans highlighted the case's parallels to the YSL RICO situation, viewing both as examples of prosecutorial overreach. The drama was compounded by Greer's quick return to legal trouble in the YSL case, leading to debates about whether he was being reckless or was trapped by over-policing in Atlanta. The pending murder retrial has kept this case in the public eye, even as Greer serves his current sentence for the probation violation. As of the latest reports, Greer awaits a retrial for the 2007 Yarborough murder, as ordered by the Georgia Supreme Court in 2020. This ongoing case adds another layer of complexity to his legal situation, as prosecutors could pursue it while he serves his 2023 sentence. The whole murder case controversy highlights the challenges of the criminal justice system, particularly when it comes to witness credibility and corroboration requirements. Rawlings' testimony, despite being granted immunity, was ultimately deemed unreliable due to his admitted involvement in the crime. The fact that it took over a decade to reach this conclusion speaks to the persistence required to challenge wrongful convictions. What makes this case even more compelling is how it intersected with Greer's family dynamics and Young Thug's rising career. The financial resources that Young Thug was able to provide for legal representation were crucial in getting the conviction overturned. This created a narrative of family loyalty that would later be tested during the YSL RICO case when plea deals and cooperation allegations came into play. The release in 2019 was supposed to be a fresh start for Greer, but the shadow of the potential retrial and his subsequent involvement in the YSL case show how difficult it can be to completely escape the cycle of legal troubles. The community's reaction to both the murder case and the YSL situation reflects broader tensions about prosecutorial tactics, witness reliability, and the challenges facing young black men in the criminal justice system. Unfunk's rise, fall, and brotherhood with Young Thug. Wad up fam, let's get into the personal side of Quantavious Greer's story. The man behind the headlines, his music career that almost was, and the unbreakable bond with his superstar little brother that survived everything the streets and the system could throw at them. Quantavious Greer was born and raised in Atlanta's Jonesboro South Project, a low-income area marked by poverty and crime. Picture this, a family of 10 siblings trying to make it in one of Atlanta's toughest neighborhoods, where every day was a struggle, and every decision could determine whether you made it out or became another statistic. Greer grew up as the older brother to Jeffrey Lamar Williams, who would later become the rap phenomenon we know as Young Thug. The bond between these brothers was forged in fire from day one. Growing up in the Jonesboro South Projects meant navigating poverty, crime, and limited opportunities while trying to keep the family together. Young Thug, born August 16, 1991, was the second youngest of the 10 siblings, and Greer took on that protective older brother role early on. This foundation would prove unshakable even when the legal system tried to tear them apart.
Oh, that's my brother. That's the baby brother.
Y'all related?
Yeah, that's my mama's son.
Oh, that's your brother.
Yeah,
When Greer was released from prison in 2019 after his murder conviction was overturned, he didn't waste time feeling sorry for himself. He adopted the stage name Unfunk and began pursuing a rap career, inspired by his brother's success and the Atlanta hip-hop scene. His style was raw and authentic, what he called pain music, embedding storytelling about his incarceration and street life into every bar he spit. Here's what's interesting about Unfunk's approach to music. He chose to create fresh material after his release instead of relying on lyrics he'd written during his 11-year prison stint. He wanted his music to reflect his new perspective and growth, not just rehash old pain. Influenced by artists like Young Money Cash Money and Andre 3000, Greer developed his unique sound under the mentorship of Young Thug, who gave him advice to feed your mind and focus on authentic growth. Signing with Young Stoner Life Records was a game changer for Greer's career. This wasn't just nepotism. Young Thug recognized his brother's talent and gave him the platform to showcase it. The YSL connection provided access to high-profile collaborations and the kind of industry support that most struggling artists can only dream about. The breakthrough moment came with Greer's feature on Real from Young Thug's Slime Language 2 album in 2021. This track wasn't just another collaboration, it was a raw display of brotherly chemistry, with Greer's gritty storytelling complementing Thug's melodic flow perfectly. The song's emotional depth and authentic pain resonated with fans, earning praise on social media for its realness. Comments like Unfunk and Thug on Real hit different. You hear their struggle, flooded platforms like Twitter, showing that the brothers had created something special. In June 2021, Greer released his debut project My Struggle, featuring collaborations with Young Thug, Future, and Gunna. This wasn't just another mixtape. It was Greer's statement to the world about his journey from a life sentence to redemption. Tracks like Running Out of Patience showcased his introspective storytelling ability, with fans respecting the raw emotion and authentic experiences he brought to every song. The momentum was building fast. Greer performed at events like Hot 107.9, Quote S Birthday Bash 25 in Atlanta in July 2021, capitalizing on his YSL connection and the growing buzz around his music. These live performances helped establish his presence in the hip-hop scene, showing that he wasn't just riding his brother's coattails, but had legitimate talent of his own. But here's where Young Thug's loyalty really shines through in this story. Young Thug was instrumental in Greer's 2019 release from prison, funding legal efforts, and hiring attorney Brian Steele to challenge Greer's 2010 murder conviction. This wasn't just throwing money at a problem. Thug was using his success to fight for his brother's freedom, showing the kind of family loyalty that goes beyond words. The successful appeal that led to Greer's release after 11 years was celebrated by Thug and fans alike, with social media posts declaring, "Thug got his brother out, that's real love." This support extended beyond just legal fees. Thug provided emotional and financial backing during Greer's transition back to civilian life, helping him navigate the challenges of re-entering society after more than a decade behind bars. The musical collaboration between the brothers went deeper than just business. Their work on tracks like Real and Mob Ties showcased a creative synergy rooted in shared experiences and genuine affection. The success of Slime Language 2, which peaked at number 12 on the Billboard 200, highlighted their chemistry, with fans commenting that Thug and Unfunk together is family vibes, pure Atlanta. Young Thug's role as YSL Records founder provided Greer not just a record deal, but a platform for growth and mentorship. This wasn't just about giving his brother a break. Thug genuinely believed in Greer's talent and potential. The advice to feed your mind became a guiding principle for Greer's artistic development, emphasizing authenticity over gimmicks. But then came the legal legal troubles that would test their bond in ways they never imagined. The 2022 YSL RICO indictment charged both brothers, creating a situation where Greer's plea deal included a no-contact clause with Young Thug. This sparked immediate speculation about betrayal and snitching, with fans on social media expressing disbelief that Unfunk can't even talk to Thug now, that's messed up. Greer addressed these concerns directly on Instagram, posting, "Damn, people really think I told on my own brother SMH," and his attorney confirmed that no cooperation against co-defendants had occurred. The no-contact clause was a standard condition of the plea deal, not evidence of betrayal, but the hip-hop community's sensitivity to snitching allegations made this distinction difficult for many fans to accept. The relationship dynamics became even more complex when Greer's probation was violated in 2023. Despite his brother's legal troubles, Young Thug maintained public support, with social media posts after his own release in 2024 emphasizing YSL unity. Fans noted Thug's continued loyalty, with comments like, "Thug still got Unfunk's back, even after everything." The no-contact clause was eventually lifted for Young Thug's October 2024 probation terms, allowing potential future contact between the brothers. This development offered hope that their musical collaboration could resume once Greer completes his sentence, though his current incarceration limits immediate opportunities. What makes their relationship so compelling to fans is its authenticity in an industry often criticized for fake friendships and manufactured drama. The brothers' bond has been tested by poverty, incarceration, legal troubles, and public scrutiny, yet it has endured. Young Thug's consistent references to family loyalty in his music, combined with his actions during Greer's legal battles, demonstrate a commitment that goes beyond typical industry relationships. The cultural significance of their relationship extends beyond personal bonds to represent broader themes in hip-hop about family, loyalty, and overcoming adversity. Their story resonates with fans who value authenticity and understand the challenges of maintaining relationships under extreme pressure. Social media comments like, "Thug and Unfunk's story is real. They've been through it all," reflect this connection. Greer's career was unfortunately cut short just as it was gaining momentum. His 2023 arrest for the probation violation effectively ended his ability to capitalize on the success of My Struggle and his growing fan base. The timing was particularly frustrating because he had been building legitimate momentum in the music industry, moving beyond his brother's shadow to establish his own identity as an artist. The personal cost of Greer's legal troubles extends beyond his own life to impact his family relationships and career aspirations. His incarceration means missed opportunities for musical collaborations with Young Thug, who is now focused on rebuilding his own career after his 2024 release. The brothers' shared experiences have created a unique creative chemistry that fans hope to see again in the future. If you enjoyed watching this video and wouldn't mind more of such content, make sure to click on the card showing on the screen.